Welcome back to Business and Politics. We're talking to Secretary Larry GADON. Sir, you attended the second SONA.
Yes.
In fact, you were interviewed by this network on your initial reactions.
Yes.
There are a number of things mentioned by the President that can be linked to your job as President's advisor on poverty alleviation. But what are some of those things that stuck out that you think was really, meant for you?
The passage of the Agricultural Amelioration Act,
Okay.
which the President approved about 2 weeks ago only.
Yes.
And this will write off and condone the debts or loans of our farmers,
Right.
so that they can concentrate their capital for replanting and improving their farms, improving their harvest. And aside from that, the President also mentioned that they will be assisted with seedlings and the technology and the
science, you say.
the science and even the logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what else stuck out? Because
The housing also.
he mentioned a number of things like vaccines, public health.
Yes.
He mentioned rural electrification.
Yes.
100%. Again, another goal that no president has ever achieved. Right. The amnesty program. All of these
Yes.
things can be linked, but there's so many things. What would you?
One of the major items in the SONA is the electrification.
Yeah.
Do you know that in, for example, in Mindoro,
Yes.
that
Where
is
your home province.
food basket,
Yeah.
very rich in agriculture and aquaculture. But
Daily brownouts.
because of the daily brownouts,
Yeah.
4 to 6 times brownouts a day,
Yeah.
nobody would want to put up a cold chain facility or a manufacturing or processing plants for food processing.
Right.
Ang nangyayari dyan, there was even a time that they burned, they produced yung mga onions nila, sinunog nila, because they cannot bring it to the markets. And if there are cold chain facilities and there are processing facilities there, they can sustain their livelihood by these improvements in the way the farm produce are handled.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't President Marcos also mention Mindoro during the campaign, and now he was pledging, or he had pledged to solve
Yes.
the electricity problem there? What's the issue for those who are not familiar? Why is there such a problem in Mindoro? Is it
Because Mindoro,
infrastructure, or is it management of the co-op, or is it a combination of things?
I think it's a combination of the problems of the co-ops and the lack of the national grid facilities.
Okay.
Because Mindoro is not covered by NGCP.
Okay. It's
There are
not
no
part of the grid,
lines,
right.
yes, and so the people there are dependent only on the generators owned by the cooperatives, and they are not enough.
Right. So
The demand is increasing.
right. So I heard from one of your previous interviews that one of the things you plan to do is really coordinate with the different government departments who are
Yes.
tasked to do something about poverty, except they are siloed, right?
Yes.
So how,
I think it's just a matter of orchestrating and evaluating the programs.
so where do you start? Are you gonna start with energy? Are you gonna start with
Yes.
food, or public health, or where do you begin? I mean, because the problem is
Yes.
is so big, yeah.
I will tackle it one by one.
Okay.
In fact, a lot of people are suggesting to me that I should call a summit of all the stakeholders and the LGUs.
Okay.
That is a very difficult task.
Do you plan to do that?
No.
Okay.
I will take it one by one.
Okay.
I will approach this on a one-on-one basis. Like for
Okay.
example, I have talked to several experts already on the energy sector.
Okay.
And then I would zero in on Mindoro.
Okay.
I will investigate and evaluate the problems there on electricity.
I see.
And I will coordinate with all the agencies that are involved or in or concerned in the power sector.
Right.
And,
Have you had a chance to sit down with Energy Secretary Lotilla? No, not yet?
Not yet, because I have just been...
no time yet.
No time yet.
Yeah.
All the people are busy putting inputs in the sauna.
Right.
So I was just I took my oath on July 10.
Right.
And after that, everybody is so busy on the sauna inputs.
Right. Did it surprise you that, what the content of the sauna was mainly domestic concerns? It seems like the president was addressing mostly gut issues. Parang sikmura muna.
Yes.
Did that surprise you, or that because people are expecting for him to tackle also geopolitical issues, U.S., China, ASEAN, perhaps. No.
Oh.
But how did the sauna sound to you?
Well, I think because of the pandemic, we have to focus first on our own concerns,
problems,
our own problems. And I myself is not really focused on the China-US relations.
Okay.
We can leave it at that at the moment. And we should solve first our problems, like domestic problems, like the poverty incidents and the lack of jobs.
Right.
And we have to resuscitate or revive our industries,
right,
so that we can give jobs to the people.
No, because it kind of surprised you, because the president started off with external headwinds, right? The inflation because of what's going on in North America, and also the repercussions of the war in Ukraine.
Yes.
And I think his theme was, despite of all of these things happening, the Philippines managed to grow.
Yes.
So I mean, that's the point I was trying to make, that we have all of these ambitious programs, and poverty alleviation is probably the most ambitious one.
Yes.
Because one
of the major concerns.
Because it's a major one, as you said, and no president has ever really resolved it, right? And I'm not sure if it can really be resolved, but you have a clear target of 50%.
Yes.
Right.
At least 50%.
Right. So I'm just trying to connect it that way, that we cannot be not concerned about what's going on abroad, because no matter how we do things or how well we do things at home, we're still going to be affected by inflation, by supply chain problems,
yes,
from the war, and maybe, who knows, hopefully not another pandemic in the future, right?
What's happening in the world right now would of course affect us.
Sure.
But there are things that President Bongbong Marcos mentioned, like the inflation rate. It has gone down from 8.7 in January and February levels to 5.4 in May. So that is already a big accomplishment.
Right.
And our unemployment rate has gone down to 4.3. From a high of 8%,
right,
after the pandemic.
Right.
And although this is also another area of concern, our debt to GDP ratio is now 60%.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic, our debt to GDP ratio is only 39.
Yeah.
And the jump to 60% is really alarming.
It worries you.
Yes, it worries me.
Now, the point I was trying to make about maybe the global aspect, because poverty is not just a Philippine problem.
Yes.
Right? It's every country has poverty. And one of the discussions over the years that I'm familiar with is, for example, the commitments made by the United States and the rich countries to devote 1% of their GDP for aid to other countries, like the Philippines perhaps, to help them address those sustainable development goals, right? Has that been discussed in your... I know you haven't had a lot of time with the president, but has that been discussed? Is that going to be part of your mission, to maybe go to the U.S. and say, look, you owe us some commitments, right? Is that something that you...
Well, we should not depend on it, because the U.S. itself, the debt to GDP ratio is around 126%.
They have their own problems.
They have their own problems. They have bigger debts to take care.
Yeah.
take care of.
Yeah.
And in fact, even bigger countries like Japan,
Yeah.
they have 225% debt to GDP ratio.
Right.
And even Singapore, which
Yeah.
is a very progressive country,
Yeah.
the debt to GDP ratio is 126. So
Yeah.
we should not be relying on this help from other countries.
Okay.
We should really work hard
Yeah.
for our own good.
Yeah, but for example, I mean, the U.S. is trying to be more present in Asia Pacific, right? But their policy has been more of a military
Yes.
solution. And and yet people have been calling, for example, why doesn't the U.S. Congress renew the GSP plus for the Philippines? It's still pending in the U.S. Congress. Why doesn't the Philippines have a free trade agreement with the U.S.? I mean, it could take an economic turn, which I think could fit well with your plan to stimulate the economy, create more jobs, if it had more of an economic angle rather than a military angle.
Well, the U.S., they will say nice things.
Okay.
But in reality, this cannot really be expected
Yeah.
as a Bible of, or a golden egg that will be served
Yeah.
up to us. So
We have to do it on our own. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and
Okay.
the management style or the leadership style of President Bongbong Marcos is not to seek, not to appear like a beggar.
Okay.
That he would go to the U.S. and
Okay.
ask for aid again.
Okay.
What we should do is to look for other markets for our
Okay.
products.
Okay.
And we have to increase we have to add more items in our exportable products.
Okay.
We should be looking into other items and other markets.
Right.
We have to open other markets, new markets for our products.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
we should not rely only on the U.S.
Yeah, and I think the government is already trying to do that right now.
Yes, right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
President Bongbong Marcos has already visited Malaysia,
Yeah.
Singapore, and the U.S. And we should not rely only on the U.S.
Yeah. All right. We'll be right back with Secretary Larry GADON. This is Business and Politics. We'll be right back.